All right, today we're diving into a white paper that proposes something pretty radical. It wants to completely change how we value a good idea. We're talking about a whole new kind of money and even a new stock market designed just for grands. So let's get into it. So let's start with the big question, the one that's really at the heart of this whole thing. What if you could turn a good idea directly into cash? I mean, forget the business plans, forget the endless venture capital pitches, forget trying to find wealthy connections. The paper asks, what if the idea itself, right at that spark of creation, could be cashed in?
Okay, so how would that even work? Well, the first piece of the puzzle is a totally new kind of money. It's called MOYOM, or MYM for short. You can think of it as the fuel for this whole new economy. It's a special kind of angel money, made for one thing and one thing only, investing in the value of brands.
And of course, if you have new money, you need a new place to spend it, right? So the paper proposes a new marketplace called the Ipparts Exchange, or IPPAEX. Now, this isn't your typical stock market for companies or commodities. No, this exchange is built for something entirely different, something they call brand currencies.
So to really wrap our heads around this system, we've got to start at the very beginning, with its foundation. And that is this new kind of money, which is actually built on a pretty unique philosophy. But you might be asking, why even bother creating a new currency? Well, the paper argues it's all to solve one core problem, something it calls the creator's funding gap. It's basically saying there's a fundamental flaw in our economy right now that stops great ideas from ever seeing the light of day. And here's what that problem is, according to the document. Honest, creative people, the ones who come up with brilliant, game-changing ideas, are basically locked out of the system. The way things are set up now, it doesn't reward the person who had the idea in the first place. It rewards the people who show up later. And you know, the paper doesn't just frame this as an economic issue, it goes further, saying it's a moral problem. It puts it really bluntly, saying that these creators are often outlawed and ostracized while other people get rich off their concepts. Pretty strong words. To make this point crystal clear, the paper uses this visual. It calls the M-graph of profitability. Just look at it. You see the timeline of a product, right? The profits spike up during R&D and then again during marketing. But look all the way back at the beginning, the origination of ideas. What do you see? Nothing. Zero. The person who had the idea gets left out completely. So why? Why does this happen? Well, the paper actually coins a special term for it, Caiaphas syndrome. It describes this as the mechanism, really, that's responsible for isolating these honest creators. It makes sure they don't get the funding, which then allows their ideas to be taken, or imparted, as they put it, to other people who do have the cash. Okay, so that's the problem they've laid out. Now let's get to the solution. The paper introduces a brand new exchange, one built specifically to fund ideas right from the moment they are born. So let's walk through the process. How would this actually work? Step 1, a creator takes their idea and captures it in a brand. Then step 2, they create a unique digital asset that's tied to that brand. This is the brand currency we talked about. Step 3, that currency gets listed on the IPPAEX exchange. And finally, investors can use MYM to buy it, which sends money directly to the creator so they can actually build their idea.
Now, this is super important. What exactly is this brand currency? It's not a stock share, not in the way we usually think about it. It's a totally new kind of asset. And what it represents, what contractually backs it, is the brand's intangible value, something accountants have a word for, goodwill. And to really show you the sheer scale of this intangible value, the paper uses Apple as a perfect example. Okay, so Apple's market value is something like $2.4 trillion. But if you look at their balance sheet, the actual physical assets they own are only worth about $74 billion. That difference, a staggering $2.3 trillion, that's goodwill. That's the value of the brand, the logo, the ideas, the reputation, and that is the value that IPPAEX wants to unlock and let people trade. But here's the thing. For any of this to work, the MYM currency itself has to be valuable, and it has to grow in value. So how do you make that happen? Well, the paper proposes a pretty unique economic theory to do just that. To build its case, the paper kind of sets up this classic battle between two economic theories. On one side, you've got the quantity theory of money. It basically says money is valuable because of the total amount of stuff it can buy. But on the other side, you have the supply and demand theory, which says money is valuable because people want the goods and services it can buy. And these two ideas don't always line up. So what does the paper do? It tries to take the best of both worlds, The goal is simple: make every single unit of MYM as valuable as possible. And the strategy to get there is pretty clever. You want to make the investment assets, those brands, go up in value, but at the same time, you want to make everyday goods and services you'd buy with MYM go down in price. The theory is that this creates a perfect feedback loop. Cheap stuff makes more people want to use MYM, and the valuable brands make the whole ecosystem worth more. This should, in theory, constantly push the value of MYM higher and higher.
So what's the ultimate goal here? What's the grand vision? The paper gets very specific, and it lays out some really ambitious numbers for what it would take to actually bring this whole thing to life. First up, the fundraising target. According to the document, they'll need $125 million to build the Ipparts Exchange and turn this vision into a reality.
And the second number, wow. This one really shows you the scale of their ambition. The total supply of the MYM currency is set at 1 quadrillion. That's a 1 followed by 15 zeros. It's a huge number.
And that really brings us to the final and, I think, most provocative question. What we've looked at is a white paper with a truly radical vision. It's about funding creativity by capturing and trading the intangible value of a brand from the moment it's conceived. It challenges our core beliefs about where value even comes from. So the question it leaves us with is a big one. Can you truly build an entire economy based on nothing more than the value of ideas?